Inner Expeditions podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Inner Expeditions podcast. This is Season 2, Episode 7 of the show. My name, of course, is Aaron Harvey. I want to welcome you all back to joining me for the podcast. Today's episode, we have a friend, a guy I've known for a few years now. He's a new author. His name is David Minutillo, and David is a guy who I used to work with in the mining exploration game, where we were probably the client working on site on an exploration drill sites, and Dave and his brothers were part of the drill contracting team that did all of our drilling and exploration for iron ore back on those sites in those days. So a bit of a rapport with Dave. We got along really well on site and have always kept in touch. And I was really surprised to find out that he is now an author and he's writing books, first of which he's released fairly recently. And he's also got a new book coming out on Tuesday. So I really jumped at the chance. And we've been in touch for a little while, working out how we were going to have a chat about writing, inspiration, where that inspiration comes from, and why all of a sudden it's taken, how come it's come about for him. Dave's got a background he's a helicopter pilot. He used to fly scenic flights down on the southern coast of WA in Albany, as well as other places. I knew Dave as a driller through working with him. And obviously now writing books, he's an incredibly inspired guy. He's got a book out, he's got a new one coming out, and he's also writing all the time, keep on coming up with new material, which I just find incredible. Once that light, or once that fire is lit within someone, it just really flows open. So super impressive to be chatting with him about that. But look, as well as inspiration, obviously, finding out where that comes from. Obviously, you get creativity from that inspiration and what inspires you. And then we also sort of talk about how you channel that into a book and make it relevant with his writing, which is pretty cool. Other sides of that, obviously, Dave, you're exposing yourself, you're exposing your feelings as a person in the things that you're writing about and the things that you're putting in a book, and we also touch on that, which is super cool. It's my first time interviewing an author, and I love reading, and it's really great to speak to someone on the other side of that and find out where that inspiration comes from and how it transpires into their work. It's I just love art for that reason. So, look. Have a listen. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. It was a great conversation. There's also a few other really cool things in there where Dave sort of turns the switch and asks me a few questions, as well as we sort of talk a brush on working together in the industry that we worked in, and what it was like for us, what we saw on both sides, and how we are now that we've come out of it and doing other things that we're passionate about and enjoy, and that sort of life after working away. So have a listen. It's a great one. Really love for you guys to check it out, and we'll talk again after the show and assess our thoughts then. All right, so we are live on the show. I'm joined today by David Minutillo, who is an author, a new author out in the world. And he's joining me to tell me a bit about his story and the process of going from changing careers effectively from all sorts of things which you're going to get into to being an author, what inspires him and what it's like to transcend into a different career. So just want to say, Dave, thanks for coming on, bro. I've known you for a few years and I've been excited about sharing this one with everyone. So thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, no worries. And I'm very excited too. Let's get to it.
Yeah, so I guess at the start of the story where I was going to sort of get into things were when I met you, we were working on a site together. I was working as running an exploration site. You were there as a driller. And, we kind of sort of, become friends from back then. But, it goes back. I remember hearing stories about you being a helicopter pilot, come driller, and now you're writing books. How does that even happen?
Just following your whims I was actually thinking about this before, and yeah, like a bit of it is just straight up like dumb decision making paying off, and yeah, you've got to follow your heart, and that's what I've always done, and yeah, kind of forgotten about the stuff that goes with it sometimes, to my detriment sometimes, but yeah, it certainly worked out in the bigger picture of my life, and I'm very happy with the moves I've made. So yeah, here we are as a rider, 30, 37 or whatever I am.
It's epic, man. And you were saying, like, just, definitely having your heart on your sleeve can have its detriments. I mean, back then, I was probably the opposite. I was probably quite reserved and guarded, which has its own downside as well. So there's always a bit of a to and fro with either side of that. But it seems to have come fairly easily for you to, yeah, move into something different, which is pretty cool. And
Yeah, oh, but just to that point though, like, yeah, it definitely hasn't come easily, and yeah, I sort of make light of it a bit, but yeah, like I was hiding a lot back then. Like, you wear a hat when you're out in the bush, and it's a big hat, and yeah, you've got a lot of responsibilities, and those yeah, that just doesn't ever go away. So, you constantly have to be someone that you don't feel like you really are. So, yeah, moving away from FIFO and getting rid of all those rules, drug tests, and responsibilities, and getting up at certain times and all that stuff. That once that went, a lot of freedom came, and sounds exactly like your story, basically in the end. So yeah, I wouldn't have said it was easy, but it's definitely been worthwhile. And yeah, it's taken a lot out of me to get here now. But yeah, we're here, and and we're going.
it's great. And I'm so glad because yeah, I do relate to what you're saying. Is you can be out there and you make friendships out there and you get to know people, but you kind of can't really tap into that anymore because at the end of the day, you've still got a job to do and you're still going to be judged by your bosses and your peers as to how you perform. And if you're getting along with contractors or outside influences too much, then you're kind of at the mercy of some pretty harsh judgment, I guess, which is pretty unfounded, and it is a shame. But like you say, once those shackles are broken, it's nice to look back and realize that hey, you did make some pretty cool friendships out there, and getting in touch with people again for totally different reasons, like we're doing, is something that I'm so grateful for.
Yeah, no, it's amazing, absolutely amazing. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was lucky because I had my brothers up there, for many years. So
yeah,
I had a close knit circle, which is what, yeah, it was really upsetting when I heard that you were like sort of, out there and alone, especially at the end when we'd gone by that point. But
yeah,
it's just heartbreaking. It just doesn't need to happen. It's so unnecessary, and it's what people really need to focus on that are looking after these companies. Stop thinking about the money and think about your guys. That always leads to the right roads in the end. But yeah, I was lucky. I had three brothers, or my two brothers up there, so it was three of us at all times. So yeah, we were very lucky in that process. And even if they weren't there, it was always my crew were there. It was more that we had conflicts with the client and always thought we're second class citizens in that respect. But
yeah.
yeah, no, you just look on it back on it with fondness now. Like there's not much to hate on, and yeah, it all all those battle scars just make you a better person down the track. So yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, I agree there, and I think looking back, I definitely have got some good friends from that time. I think it was probably more with my mindset and the way I was feeling. I probably felt a bit more isolated, but yeah, as you heal, you look back and you realize a lot of that sort of stuff was just the way you felt because of the state and the condition that you were in, I guess. But look, I had some great times out there, and I definitely do still have some great friends and some long lasting friendships that came from those days. So
Yeah,
as you heal, I guess you reflect and you see things differently as well as your mindset changes as well.
yeah. And, and that's the thing. Everything's shit while it's happening, but
Yeah,
you walk 10 meters past it, and you're like, oh, why was I upset by that?
yeah.
So that's the key. Is just keep moving in the direction you want to go, and you'll get to where you need to be.
Yeah, and sometimes you need that nudge to put you somewhere else, maybe somewhere where you'd rather be, which is, it's got us to where we are now.
Yeah, amen.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, so you started writing when you, I guess, when did that sort of the inspiration or that creativity start? I've spoken to people in the past, and they're, it's always been there for them, and they have to work that full time job, and then the creativity and that, the art is the side hustle, but it's their passion. It's like that side passion project. Was it kind of like that for you, or was it more something that hit you later on? You're like, hey, you know what? I'm going to kind of try and run with this and see where it goes.
Yeah, well, I definitely didn't have anything artistic in me until well after high school. So, and then yeah, a few years into an office job with Bunnings, I was just ready to stretch my wings and wanted something. And I'd always had this really active imagination, and yeah, just sort of in the end, just started putting pen to paper for no reason at all. I think it started with a bit of a diary, and that led to some sort of some fruity stories, and away I went. But that was sort of like 03, 04, and yeah, just didn't have the confidence to finish what I was doing, and got got deep into a book, and shelved the whole thing. I just couldn't look at it in the end. I just didn't have and I didn't know how to fix it because I didn't have the skills to fix it. So yeah, the whole thing went on the shelf for well over 10 years, or more. And then when I got, went flying, went drilling, then went into the drilling office and ran the ship there for quite a few years. But by then I just had so much. Yeah, I was just jack of working for other people, and going with all these rules that I didn't believe in, and blah blah blah, and ended up just pulling the pen out again, and getting writing. And I've posted a blog on what inspired that story. And but yeah, once I got started again, I just couldn't stop, and was writing before and after work for sort of 2 to 3 hours a day on good days, and nothing on a bad day. But you could just see that word count building and building, and yeah, your goals just sort of line up with what you're doing, and yeah, away I went. And yeah, then the decision got made sort of on my behalf when I got made redundant from Egan's. And yeah, suddenly I was, overnight, literally, I was a full time writer, with Dahlia, right in the closing stages of the writing process, like as in the first draft.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I quickly got it finished and then started the editing phase. And yeah, like we're a year and a half later now, and that's been up online for maybe 2 months, and there's some other stuff in the works. But yeah, it's been a wild ride, and a shitload of work.
I mean, it's impressive because you've got Dahlia. It's out there now. Dahlia, the Velvet Witch,
Yeah,
in her dark spirit. I've been reading it, and to be honest, I'm loving it. I mean, I never saw myself as a witchcraft sort of indie novel reader, but I'm reading it now, and just it's drawing me in, man. It's some pretty powerful stuff in there.
yeah. And it's a weird, like, I didn't set out to write that book until it was happening, and but that story is sort of beside the point. It's more getting your feelings out into the world, and getting a piece of you out into the world. And it just happens to be, in that book. So a lot of, like, get asked so much, why witchcraft, and why this and why that. I don't know.
It's just kind of like a channel.
Yeah, it's a channel,
Yeah,
and these
yeah,
stories build in your head,
yeah,
and you forget the bad ones, and you keep going with the good ones. And yeah, putting pen to paper makes it official, and before you know it, it's got a life of its own. You're researching things you didn't know about,
yeah,
and that's exciting. And you're writing things you didn't know about, and that's exciting. And people are starting to read it. When it went out to my brother and a few other people, and you were just getting those first little glimpses of feedback,
yeah,
it was amazing. It filled your heart with, yeah,
yeah. I
what it
bet.
needed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
There's that first bit of affirmation that you're on the right track, right?
yeah, yeah, and that's so important. You can't do it without it. I mean, yeah, I mean, guys that can are just, yeah, they are freaks of nature.
Yeah,
People that can, yeah, walk
just
a path
steamroll
with
ahead
no idea.
regardless.
Yeah,
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
insane.
Well, I mean, it kind of opened the floodgates because I remember we've sort of been toing and froing for probably a few months to line this up. But I remember messaging you, and I think you were having like a mini sort of getaway, and you were like, oh, Dahlia's out there. I've got another book that's coming out pretty soon, but I'm also writing something at the moment, and it's like, man, you're inspired. You're just totally on a roll. Like it's all happening, and it's just the floodgates have opened. It's impressive, man.
Yeah, well, yeah, and that's just come from being regimented and like just not stopping for breaks. You finish something, you start the next thing. Like you just got to keep going. Otherwise, yeah. I mean that's what stuffs it all up is when you stop and start thinking. I just keep writing now, and you can see like I said, you see that word count just keep building up. New books going out, you keep getting a bit more feedback. People like it, some people don't, whatever. And you just keep moving in the right direction. And like I said, it just takes on a life of its own. And yeah, I mean, Dahlia certainly has, and this whole writing gig certainly has. But there's so many more aspects to it now. At first, it was just writing, whereas now it's basically running a small company for myself.
Yeah,
It's doing marketing, keeping bloody receipts. It, yeah,
yeah,
it's just an all round process. It's something I didn't think was going to happen because I honestly thought I would go the traditional path,
yeah,
send it off to a publisher, see what happens, and you send it to enough publishers and someone will sign you. Well, that was 6 months ago, and I've had like 9 rejections.
yeah.
But there's still 60 or 70 emails that just aren't answered out there. So I just and I was too impatient. So yeah, I just decided to self-publish and keep hold of the reins, and it's just all worked itself out with a lot of hard work, and yeah, like I said, now we're here.
I mean, it's ballsy because you've, on so many ways, just put yourself out there. With putting your thoughts and feelings into words and channeling it with your books and stories. Then that's one part. Then yeah, you're self-publishing and you're, without even knowing it, running a business, which these things don't happen, and you've got no idea of what can happen without taking that leap of faith and putting it out there. But I mean, it's like you feel like you're alive. It's
Oh, that's
it's
part of the
it's
fun.
pretty epic, right?
Yeah, you wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, without that excitement of what's coming next, you wouldn't have that same drive to kind of get to to make all your next steps. So that's definitely been cool.
It's a fear that can hold a lot of people back, and it's that fear that keeps a lot of people in the job that they don't like, or doing something that they can't, they've got no passion for. It's just something a means to pay the bills and stuff. But if there's something in there that you really feel like you want to be putting out there, it's overcoming that fear is where you start to grow, and you feel like you're alive again.
Yeah,
It's a
fear's
pretty
it's a hard one to do with, like fear. Like, I mean, we've all got it, and like you said, it stops everyone from just doing everything that they want. Like, it's so rarely something rational that's what's stopping you from getting to that next bump. It's
yeah,
procrastination. It's like fear of what people are going to think, what they're going to say. If you fail, how's that going to look? But yeah, you just sort of get to an age, I guess, and with inspiration as well. Like I was a big Joe Rogan fan at the start, and that's really
yeah,
probably what got me on the straight and narrow, listening to guys like Goggins and those kind of
yeah,
guys that are
yeah,
are completely unrelated to what I'm doing, but just that have got this mindset that you don't fucking give up. You keep going. You go no matter what hurdles in your path, and you jump over it. Like you can get around everything. There's literally nothing you can't get around, as long as you ask for a bit of help as well along the way. So yeah,
yeah,
there's been certainly a lot of inspirations that have got me moving forward. But yeah, I'm proud myself of the amount of fear facing I've done to get through this. Even from things like having your folks read a sex scene, or
yeah, yeah,
there's just there's some gnarly equations you come against that you just not think. And recently I've started my own pen name just because there's stuff that I want to say that I'm still not confident saying.
yeah,
So you just
yeah.
operate under this other little umbrella, and away you go.
Yeah, I hear you. It's I've through podcasting and having an account linked to it, it's I've opened up a lot in the last few years, but to kind of get there, I've had to really break down some walls and strip myself back to the bare basics, and that's something that Dave Goggins talks about. That you mentioned, a lot of things you can't really deal with unless you're 100% honest with yourself. And to
Yeah.
do that, you've got to break down some barriers to get there.
What were yours?
Um,
What were your sort of sticking points going along?
I was quite a reserved person.
Yeah.
I wasn't super open with my feelings and stuff like that. I was a bit old school, probably just from behaviours handed down from other generations. So for me, I always like just being that little bit reserved guy, not quite probably say as much or let as much of myself out until I was comfortable around groups of people.
Yeah.
Just that fear of being perceived in all sorts of ways. Which is I think is I'm definitely improving on that path. It's always a journey. I don't think it's something you ever really master, but I'm making those roads now with being comfortable, being more comfortable being myself and owning who I am. So
Yeah, I mean,
it's a lot easier.
we're both lucky because we've both got strong women by our side, and that
100%.
man,
Yeah.
uh, you can't do it otherwise. Like you can try as much as you want, but you need
Hmm.
someone else, a sounding board, if nothing else, and
Well, I think just it's okay to reach out too. No one has to do anything alone, and if you think you can do it alone, you're superhuman. And
and usually kidding yourself first,
absolutely, yeah.
yeah,
And that's one of those honest things, right? Just being honest with yourself. It's like, man,
yeah.
hey, I need help, and it's like it's totally okay to say that, and no one gets anything done without the support of other people. I mean, it's a massive team thing, and I'm sure you can attest to that as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, no, I've got a good egg on the go at the moment, and she's into a lot of the things I'm into, and has
Yeah,
helped me set up the website. But she's also a creative soul, and an artist to boot. So, yeah, it's been like we're both on the same path. She's trying to quit her job at the moment
yeah,
to take up to take up her graphic design business full time, and there's
yeah,
a lot of fear with it, and there's a lot of toing and froing, and the answer on one day is never the same as the answer on the next day. And it's just funny because I've been through all that myself in the last
yeah,
couple of years, and we're getting through it together, and that helps. When you can snuggle in bed with somebody and know that they know what you're going through,
yeah,
it just fills you with. It just relieves you of your burdens,
yeah.
and that's important to move forward.
Yeah, I think for people that are going through something, one of the best things that anyone can hear is that you're not going through it alone. There's always going to be someone out there going through something similar to what you're going through, and even just knowing that is such a great enabler.
Yeah.
For you to realize, okay, I'm not alone, and there's ways out. So it's
Yeah, and that's
yeah,
what art does. It puts people out there and it shows you their weaknesses because no one's really interested in seeing their strengths. And in fact, that can be a
yeah,
pain, because you're like, oh, why am I like that? Why are these people made of steel and I seem to
yeah,
flop around and, my ADD's taken over today and tomorrow it'll be something else. And then,
yeah.
so yeah, that stuff is important.
But the hard times is where good stuff comes from. I mean, you look
Oh,
at
yeah.
when you talk about art. I mean, you look at Fleetwood Mac with music. I mean, if they didn't have that roller coaster relationship, there's no way that the music would have the drama that it had to it. I mean, everything comes from, and that's what people want to hear about. They want to hear about the sort of the hard times because I think that's where you're tested the most as well.
Yeah, and you can feel it in good art, like Fleetwood Mac, Chains and Dreams. Those
Yeah,
two songs alone. You're basically crying by the end of them, like your
yeah,
soul is anyway. Like you
yeah,
can just feel in every single inch of those songs what's going on. Like, and it's not even necessarily what's going on for them, but it's making you feel about what's going on for you. And yeah, and it helps you deal with it. And yeah, like you've got a friend all of a sudden. Music's
yeah,
great like that, but so
yeah,
is reading and so a podcast,
yeah,
seeing like again going back to Joe Rogan and even listening to your one about where you're up in the bush and moving down, it's the same thing. You hear the same story and you feel and you engage and you connect with it. And then that gives
yeah.
you a bit of a confidence boost. And before you know it, you're doing your own fantastic things. And it's cool. Like, it inspires you.
Yeah, and inspiring. And I was sort of realizing is that inspiration is, for me, I'm sort of gathering is that's what sort of starts fueling that creativity is that inspiration and how you figure out in your head and then put it into your version and how you want to portray what you want to say through what you've learnt and your goings on. It's some powerful stuff, and it's cool. I've never, I love reading. I've always read. What got me into reading was reading biographies and reading other people's stories, but I slowly sort of started getting into fiction as well, and it's just so fascinating. And to be able to sit here and interview an author is something I never
Yeah.
thought I would do. And I thought, I don't have the smarts to interview an author and talk all book stuff, but here we are. It's an honor, man. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, it's as much a surprise to me that I am an author. So
No one's more surprised than you.
yeah, don't be too much in awe.
No, it's cool. Like,
Yeah,
the more I read into the book, it's the more I'm just drawn in. And because you always wonder where that inspiration comes from. And when we started talking about recording an episode, and I'm reading the book, I'm going, geez, man, where's this going to go? Like, this is going to be some wild ride. I mean, like, I had sort of, man, this guy's he's got some things going on inside. But like you say, it's something that comes with the journey, and then you start to research it more and more, and you learn about the topic of what you're writing about.
yeah, and
Just
and
more.
on top of that, like witchcraft is taboo. So
Yeah,
it's got that awesome yeah, or don't go there, and that makes you want to
yeah,
go there more. And
yeah,
there's a lot going for it. It's yeah, it's really powerful. It's sort of unknown. Not it's got a real aura about it, a real something that people just don't understand and don't want to understand. They turn away from it, and you kind of feel like, what century are we in? That this is just as this
yeah,
is just as out there as anything else that's going on at the moment. So yeah, it had its own draw, and that's why I got sucked in initially. And then you go off and research, and the story comes to life. And in fact, that story is about witchcraft, but it's not really. It's about
yeah,
people. It's about a relationship between two people that are
yeah,
trying to work their way out in the world. So I sometimes get frustrated by being pigeonholed by things like, witchcraft or the genre of
yeah,
fantasy, which that falls into because there's supernatural things that occur. But really, it's set in this world that we're in right now with,
yeah,
some things that are just slightly beyond the realm of what we know. And yeah, for me, it's not fantasy at all. It's entirely possible. And yeah, I just wanted to tell that story, and yeah, it just kept coming. It just kept growing and coming to life, and those characters kept coming to life. And in fact, I paid for a like what's yeah, what's it's an edit, but it's a high level edit. It's called a
okay,
manuscript assessment, and
yeah,
they look at your story in its entirety rather than looking at each word, or they look at the bigger picture of things. And she came back to me at the when I first sent it, and she said, "Oh, well, it doesn't. This story really doesn't need to be about witchcraft. You could easily
yeah,
drop that part of it out, and the spirit realm and all that. Like it's a love story at its core." And
yeah,
that made me think a lot, and I was like, "Oh yeah, it is." So. Uh, yeah, and you get frustrated that you're hemmed into these things, and you need to have a genre to market to, but that's just not how I feel about it. I just I just want to write what's in my brain and
yeah.
put it out there, and then however it's perceived or categorized or whatever it is, then that's fine too. But
Leave that up to the reader.
yeah,
Yes, it's making that connection again. It's making their connection with it, which I kind of felt okay with that because you read books and sometimes you read the book for what it is, and then you miss that kind of underlining story. But I totally got it with this one. I was like, this is, there's like a parallel story being told here, and it's a great link. I thought I gave myself a little bit of a pat on the back for picking up on it
yeah.
because I'm not a huge intelligent reader, but I
Oh, neither am
definitely,
I. Neither am I.
yeah,
Like my brother's been awesome because he reads in depth. Like he'll see things.
yeah,
Why is that word there, and that
yeah,
that doesn't fit with that scene or whatever it is. But I'm not like that. I just fall into a
yeah,
story and just get sucked in, no matter how bad the writing is, no matter how bad whatever it is. Once I'm immersed in it, I'm immersed, and away you go. So there's definitely like two
Yeah.
kinds of readers out there, and it's hard
Yeah.
to, yeah, you can't write for both. So yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, yeah,
It's good. I like the way it's set in the modern day, like it's set like today, but it's still got that feel about it that it could be any time. But I think, yeah, it's having that writing that, although it's modern, it could be it could stand the test of time. I guess it's a timeless kind of way of going about it, which is like respect, man. That's it's pretty cool.
yeah. And that was definitely like, I mean, the story was underway and it was already set there, but that was definitely again a concern of the editor, just to make things, yeah, like timeless, so things weren't set or too set into any one, any one box, so it can be picked up, down the track and still make sense. So yeah, that was definitely a deliberate thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Have that sort of the underlying story, like you say, the love story that's
yeah,
that's relative no matter
surpasses
what era
everything.
kind of thing.
You
Yeah,
could
for
read
sure.
that 20 or 100 years ago and read it 100 years time, and I'm sure people will still be loving each other, and that's all that book's about. It's just
Yeah,
about two people trying to deal with their insecurities, trying to push forward on a path that they both want to get to, but there's obviously a million obstacles in the way. It's
yeah,
exactly
yeah,
like real life. We've all got
yeah,
jobs and just a million things in the way of doing what we want to do, but yeah, and it's hard. It's a struggle, and that's what that relationship is. It's just a big struggle,
yeah,
and they get to where they're going, and that's that.
yeah, yeah. That's it. And yeah, you don't want to get too much into it. Without I don't want to give
No,
too
I was
much
just
of it
about to
away, but
spoil
yeah,
it. Then I was like,
yeah, yeah.
oh.
But yeah, like you say, it's two people just trying to weave their way through the universe together. So it's yeah, I'm loving
Yeah.
it, man. It's great. Um, so from there, you've got another book coming out, yeah, which you're happy to talk about. It's
Yeah,
coming out
yeah,
pretty
no.
soon, right?
So yeah, Travel Infinity was actually written like sort of during Dahlia, because so what happened was I started with Dahlia, but I was like, well, my writing just isn't up to par. It sounds shit. So I
Yeah.
need to sharpen my tools. And at the same time, yeah, a friend had just lost her mum to cancer, to a long battle with cancer, and yeah, I
Okay.
was heartbroken for her, and I wanted to give her something to get back to her. And this started, it was just going to be a little one page like short story sort of thing, um, but yeah, just kept getting bigger and bigger, and you want to set people up properly and give everything its due course. And yeah, so it's a novella, like it's not a full length novel. It's
Yeah.
only well, it's about 1/8 the length of Dahlia, but yeah, it's just as cool to ride. Like yeah, from the second you step into the character's world, you're going till 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 the end, and it's yeah. Anyway, so that's why I wrote it. I wrote it for her
Yeah.
initially, but I mean to sharpen my skills as well, and it did just that. And then I gave her a copy, and that was that for the time being. But recently, well, I just keep thinking about that story. It just sort of, it's always had, yeah, it got a hold of me. And my mum was going through some stuff with cancer at the same time, so
Yeah.
there's a lot of similarities drawing to my life and that. So yeah, and then eventually I decided, no, you know what, this is just out of respect. I was going to keep it just for her, but we talked about it, me and Billy, and she was fine with putting it out there. I wanted it to go out there, so yeah, I basically picked it up again, and so this is a year after it was written, and
Yeah.
I hated it. It sounded bad. Like it, I tried to read it on this holiday
Yeah.
to my partner, and I was just stumbling over words, and yeah, I was like, oh, okay, so this needs a full re-edit.
Yeah.
So yeah, spent another month or so editing it, and have just gone through the exact same process that I went through with Dahlia. Sent it off for a high level script edit,
Yeah.
got some feedback, incorporated all that, read through it a few more times, sent it back for a final line edit, and have, yeah, like literally just received it back this week, made the final changes and uploaded it onto Amazon, quite literally yesterday.
Yeah.
So it's up there. It'll go live on the next Tuesday, so the 25th.
Okay.
Yeah, and it'll be available. Amazon, Booktopia, all those kind of places. So yeah,
Yeah.
easy to get a hold of.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I'll be checking it out for sure. I'll just working my way through getting to the end of Dahlia, and then I'll definitely be checking that one out as well, man. I'm loving your work. It's great. It's got good connections and good ties that are relative. I think, it's really
Yeah,
doing it for me.
yeah, cool.
Which is good because it's kind of broken a bit of a book drought for me. I haven't read anything for ages, and when we talked about doing the interview and coming on the show, I was like, okay, well, I've got to get on and read Dahlia, so I can get my head around it and know the story and be able to talk to you about it. But it's kind of breaking that drought, and I'm kind of back into the books now. I've got a stack of books queued up that I'm waiting to read, but I think I'm back into it now. It's good.
Yeah, and it's hard to stay. Yeah, it's hard to stay on track and motivated with books as well.
Yeah,
Like you either read a whole book or you put it down in the first chapter. Like
yeah,
there's just nothing in between. And that's happened to a lot of people, and it's been hard hearing that when people pick up Dali and say, "Oh, okay, yeah, it just wasn't my sort of thing," or whatever.
yeah,
And they obviously got a few pages in, or maybe didn't even open it at all, and
yeah.
you just take it so personally, and it's hard to deal with. But not everything's for everyone, and that's an important concept to learn. And I certainly hadn't learned it, and I'm certainly still dealing with it. With the psych, even just trying to deal with my people pleasing problem, and
Not
um,
taking stuff personally.
yeah, not take everything you want to take personally. It's hard not to as well when it's
Yeah,
something like this. It's your thoughts and feelings on a page, and
yep,
like I said, it's got nothing to do with the genre. Like
yep,
that's me on the page, and when people don't want to read it, it in your head you're thinking, well, they don't want to know me,
yeah,
and then it's
yeah,
how hard is it to not take that personally?
yeah.
So yeah, it's been it's been an emotional roller coaster, and not always and like there's been plenty of like real big dips that have like they haven't thrown me off, but they as in completely off. But
Yeah.
you come close at times, and you think, yeah, fuck this,
I'm never going to
yeah,
do this
yeah,
again.
why am I doing this?
Yeah. I
I'm
do
a
it all the time
sadist.
with the show. It's like,
Yeah.
man, why am I even bothering? But yeah, you go through dips and it's those times where, yeah, you have good moments and you have not so good moments and you have moments in between. And I think what I've realized, and I've even touched on it, I think in previous episodes, where you just think I'm just going through one of those times right now and I'm just going to let it pass me by and keep going and pushing on. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
and what do you
those
do
moments
when you
don't
get
last
stuck
forever.
like that? Like, do you have a go-to sort of thing to do? Like, I know Joe Rogan was a big. I keep mentioning him, but yeah, he was a big one for me. You just need to open up another
Yeah.
podcast, and suddenly you're
Yeah.
inspired again, even if it's not something related. But you're just hearing another person going through the struggles of life, and you're like, "Yep, I can do it.
Yeah,
That's
that's
enough."
cool. Yeah, I just sometimes I think the longer between episodes when I record. I mean, I can't record every week, or sometimes I set myself a bit of a task this year to record an episode every fortnight, but that's just not possible with kids and full time work at this moment in time. So I think sometimes the longer I leave between episodes, the more I get about, oh, maybe I just won't worry about it anymore. But then, I might just go for a really good run, and I just start feeling good about myself again. You get all those things that come with, going for a good run or just going outside and feeling good about your surroundings and yourself. And then I'm like, oh, okay, um, I might have 3 or 4 people on the go that I'm trying to organise for the next episode, and someone will say, "Oh, I can't do this week. We'll have to, we'll try another time." And then someone will get back to you and go, "Hey, look, I'm going to be available this week. Let's do it." And you kind of bounce off each other's motivation, I guess, or excitement, enthusiasm, and you start working towards building an episode. And then, okay, I'm back in the game, and it just drives you again. Like you get that drive back to get another one done. So, yeah.
And how active is your feedback? Like do you like you post something? Do you get like a fair few reviews, like comments? Like how do you get? What's your feedback
No,
cycle
I
like?
mean,
How
on
do
the
you?
social side of things, not so much. Like, I'm not a huge social media person. I know I could probably market a lot more to get the show out there, but I don't. Um, I'm not a big person for it, and B, I don't want the listeners or the people that like the show to feel like they're being marketed to. I just want the show to gather its own momentum to not lose its authenticity, I guess. So a lot of the time it's just from speaking to friends that have heard the episode, which is at the moment that's majority of who it is. And it just depends, you might bump into people and they'll just sort of in passing just go, I really like this episode, or whatever. Sometimes you might bump into someone at 10 o'clock at the pub and they're like, oh, you could have done this better and you could have done that better. It's like, thanks a lot, man.
Why at the pub at 10 o'clock in the morning?
10 o'clock at night, sorry, 10 o'clock at night. Yeah, the feedback at the moment, it's still pretty low key. It's still, the show's very small, but I'm just going to keep doing it. It's what I love doing, and I love speaking to people and sharing their stories, much like yours, and the conversations that come from interviewing the guests, and then the conversations that come from people that can relate to the episodes is the other great side of it. So I really do enjoy that, the personal side of it.
Yeah, and and it's hard to, like you sort of mentioned about not being a social media person, and I don't think many people are, but it's a hard thing with when you start creating, you got like such a purist mindset that you don't want to cheapen it in any way. That's my
Yeah,
work. I don't
yeah,
even want to know what people think about it at the end of the day. But then no one reads it, and then so
yeah,
what's the point of doing it in the first place? So yeah, you've got to open up at some stage and really push and push really hard, especially in the scene that I'm in, this writing world. Amazon and Wattpad, and there's a million other good, really decent platforms to read on. That they're great because they make it so bloody easy to get something online and something
yeah,
in the face of people, but that what you don't understand is, or what takes you a while to understand, is just how much is out there and
yeah,
how much people have to wade through to find your stuff. And
yeah.
if you're not shouting and pointing at your own book, no one's ever going to
No
find
one's
it
going to, yeah. No, it's
except
not
for
just going
your
to pop up.
immediate circle. Yeah,
Yeah,
and yeah,
yeah, that's right.
and this, it needs to pay an income if you're going to do it, and it'd be crazy for that not to be the final aim for anyone getting into either of these worlds. Is you've got to make an income out of it, because that then sustains your ability to keep doing it, and that's how
Yeah,
you get better. And it's hard because you're not good at the start, and you need to get better, and so it's all very chicken and eggy, and you don't quite know how to do it. I don't want to really talk about this book much because it sounds crap. We'll wait for the next one to come out, and that'll sound better. But at the end of the day, just put it out there, do your thing, and and go for it. Just run.
yeah. There's some good advice. I definitely need to take a leaf out of your book and do a bit more about that. I'll definitely take that on board and get my act together. And
It's
it
fun
is
though.
it's
Yeah,
yeah,
it's fun, and it's engaging. It's like engaging with your audience, and like
yeah,
beyond the people that are in your immediate circle that you obviously see every week, and say,
yeah,
oh, I heard it or whatever. It needs to be bigger than that, and but it's fun as well, because that's how you speak to people that have, like, it blows your head up when the first person that you don't know reads your book and says, oh, I
yeah,
love it. Oh man,
yeah,
you're in awe of of yourself. And there's only one way that's going to happen, is by really pushing yourself out there. And it's cool. It's like and plus there's just another artistic avenue to go down. Like people just keep posting the same things, but make it fun. Like grab some memes and
yeah,
adapt them to your world, or tell a stupid joke, or take a stupid picture of yourself. I mean, that all helps you open up as well, which helps your creative process. And if you can be laughed at, you can do anything. Like,
yeah,
it's being serious is a doddle compared to
yeah,
being laughed at.
yeah. No, yeah, totally. Yeah, well, look, I'm gonna, I have deleted, posts before where I might post a short video or something like that, and feel free to put it out there, and then I'm like, oh no, I'll delete that because no one wants to hear that. But I guess here I am trying to say how much I'm trying to open up, and then I'm going and deleting stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's something I want to work on, and it's a free tool. I think I spoke to Ian Morgan, as a really great guy I had on the show a few months ago, and he said, "Look, it's a free tool, man. Just you might as well use it. You don't have to look at it any other way than it's a tool for you to put your information out there and to share what you do. So
Yeah,
you don't even have to look
and
at
that,
any more than that.
it is free, but it's time consuming. Like that,
Yeah,
people don't see it. Like they just see a post go up, but by the time you log into your Canva, create something, make sure that picture's not, copyrighted, and you've
Yeah.
write something interesting, then you've got to edit it 400 times so you don't have a stupid typo in the first line.
Yeah.
And then you get it out there, and then you've got to respond, and you've got to add people because people don't just find you. Again, like you've got to go hunting for eyes and ears to look at your stuff. And yeah, I mean, I do at least 2 to 3 hours of it every day, like without
Wow.
fail. And and it grows slowly. And yeah, at times you look at your book sales and you're like, this is just isn't having an effect. Should I give it up?
Yeah.
But you've got to just get to that tipping point where, yeah, it creates it's a world of its own, and then people come to you rather than you trying to find them and shout at
Yeah.
them. Because yeah,
Yeah.
it's not the nicest feeling either. Like you feel like a door-to-door salesman some days. Like, this is my book, read it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
free or whatever. You just feel so cheap for doing it, but you've got to. Like, that's such an important part of the process. And on a lot of these writing forums I'm on at the moment, you just don't see many people doing it. And
Yeah.
so it can't, there is room to grow there, but yeah, be warned, it's super time consuming. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's all part of the job, right? There's always parts to any job that are better than others that you like doing versus bits that you don't like doing, and it's one of those things that you got to do it regardless. It's all part of the whole process. Yeah.
Yeah, and most people are trying to get away from social media, I think. So it's when you've got that mindset, that healthy mindset, you don't really need social media. So it's really
Yeah.
counterintuitive to then go
Yeah.
back to going, be my friend, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's
I'm just trying to get off my phone more, but then this is getting me back on my phone more. But
yeah.
I
Oh, I
think
cop
having
it
that
from my
healthy
partner as
relationship.
well.
Yeah.
That you're just constantly on your phone, like, replying to people's messages. They're just trying to wish
Yeah.
you well, and
Yeah.
you got to respond. Yeah, sorry, I
Yeah.
cut you off there.
No, it's all good. I'm just getting some thoughts out there. This is it's good, man. It's good for me to hear this stuff. So it's yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah, it's like the that having that holistic approach to things is super important. Like, no matter what you're doing, even if it isn't anything artistic at all, you've got to keep you just got to keep everything in perspective. And yeah, it just helps so much to know where you're going and know what's important. And sometimes it's super hard to see. And social media is a good thing at making you blind to it as well. You just get stuck in
Yeah.
that loop of of likes and follows and that sort of thing, and it's not a healthy place to be. So yeah, it's a tricky thing to manage when you've got a whole life going on behind it. But yeah, it's part of the moving forward process for me. So yeah, I kind of embrace it, and we see where we end up. I'm looking forward to palming it off. Like,
Yeah.
I really don't want to be spending 2 to 3 hours a day, adding people. It's a hard. It just sucks your time, and I want to write. I don't want to be on Instagram 24/7. But yeah, at the
Yeah.
moment, it's like one of the few ways to go forward. And like you said, it's a free tool.
It's part
It's
of
a
it.
good tool. There's millions of people out
Yeah.
there. It's
It's free
important.
advertising.
Yeah,
The I mean, it can make it very hard to be in the present, and like you say, not being on social media is one thing, but having that healthy mindset. Okay, this is what I do need to do, so I've got to spend time on here. But I find for me in the mornings, I get myself right before I start setting up for the show, or before I need to do any study or anything like that. I might go and usually go for a run in the morning, up in the hills amongst nature, and that kind of sets me right for the day. So then I can kind of feel like I can tackle anything.
yeah, and that's something
Yeah,
mining that it just teaches you so well, that like that the early bird gets the worm. Like, you're on the go. You're not getting up at 6. You're working
yeah,
by 6,
yeah,
and you're not knocking off till 6.
yeah,
You get such a good work ethic out of going away and starting early and getting in big full days. Like, you can then translate that and go, well, imagine if I was doing this for myself, where would I be
yeah,
then? And
yeah,
then and it's so important. Like, those first, I wake up at 6 still, and like those first 2 hours are easily my best writing hours of the day.
yeah.
Like, if I'm going to do something creative, it's got to
It's
be.
then.
Oh, it can happen in the arvo, but it's by the time it gets to 3 or 4, if you're trying to write on new paper, it's it's hard work. Like your brain's just in a million other things by that point, and
Well, yeah,
yeah,
and you're kind of running out of time for the day because
yeah,
it's getting away from you. So at least if you get up and do it first thing, you've got that time,
yeah.
and you're good. So you can, there's no,
There's no
the
kids.
day's not getting away from you because you're early, and yeah, you can let it happen.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's it. Super important, and yeah, it's that's why I'm thankful for FIFO because it taught me so many great lessons like that. Like I wasn't an
Yeah,
early starter before FIFO, but
yeah,
you try going to bed at midnight, waking up at 6 a.m. and having a full day in Marble
yeah,
Bar at 45 degrees, like you'll keel over, like, and
yeah,
yeah, plenty of people try it, and plenty of people learn the hard way.
yeah. They do for sure. I mean, yeah, I get up at most days. I get up at 5 o'clock. I get up pretty early. I love, I go to bed early too. I try and sort of set my body clock with with the daily hours, which has helped me immensely. But there's nothing better than lacing up in the morning and hitting the trails and meeting the sun on the horizon, or just getting that first bit of sun on your back as you're heading up the hill. It's great, and that's where I think a lot, and that's where I can start having conversations in my head about chatting to the next guest, and topics and stuff like that, and I can start plotting an episode through just being out there, and that getting that inspiration from the outdoors and channeling that energy into making something great happen.
Yeah, I really miss being up there as well. When you talk about stuff like running up those hills and those sunrises, across red dirt, and oh yeah, yeah, I miss it. Like I'd love to do another couple of days up there just to suck it all in again and be nostalgic.
Yeah,
And you're lucky being up in Exmouth. It's just you've got it around you.
it's pretty much the
Whereas
same. Yeah, you still
yeah,
get that smell of the spinifex and all that
yeah,
kind of stuff going through the gullies, which is good. And I'd love to take the family back out, to the outback one day and show them where I did my thing. And my wife Renee worked with me, of course, doing a lot of that stuff. But I think for me to face and to finalise and close off that's part of my life, I need to go back in there and just face it in the flesh as well, and put those things to bed and move on. I think as well. So
have you thought how you're going to do that? Like how that will actually play out?
no, not really. But I think I've just got to do it. So go back to some of those old sites, and I've got friends now that their companies run the old sites that I used to work at, and they'll ring me up and go, have you still got GPS marks and tracks for these areas? I was like, yeah, man, I'll flick them through to you. So I'm sure it wouldn't be too hard getting, but a lot of the sites now are, they're being mined and they're operational, where they were just bush tracks when we were there, which will kind of break my heart to see that at the same time is that development, the clearing going ahead. But
Yeah, but and good closure as well. Like that might
yeah,
just be the
that's right.
nail. The final the final hurrah for you is just seeing them
Yeah,
turn away from what we knew as like pristine, untouched land, and just
yeah,
realize that that's what we were really setting up for at the end of the day. Is
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
unfortunately, it makes me sad sometimes thinking about what we're doing out there. And I mean, it's not like it's just it's just a part of life, I suppose. Just another part of the journey, and that's just what the human race is like. We mine, to give us
Yeah,
everything we've got, and we're part of that. Part of that. Yeah.
yeah, that's right. You kind of switch it off while you're there. Creating a life with the money that you're making, but now I'm out of it. It's not something I'll ever go back to. I sort of nearly did last year. I had a really good offer and nearly took it, but yeah, as soon as I thought about going back to that work again and leaving home, all of those feelings came straight back, and I just started feeling sick, and I couldn't
Yeah.
sleep, and I was just a mess for like a couple of days, and I had to ring up and say, look, I'm not going to do this. Thanks for the offer, but I'm just happy doing what I'm doing, and had to back away. So I'm
Yeah, and
kind of glad
all
that I
you got
did.
to think about is that those fly out mornings, where you,
Yeah,
or even the night before, even the
yeah,
days before, you just got that in your head. Oh, I'm leaving in 2 days. I'm
yeah.
leaving in 1.5, and before you know it, it's there, and you're at the airport so early. You just want
Oh,
to
it's
be
the worst.
anywhere else, literally.
It was always the day before for me, and when I realised that it was time to me I really had to get out. Was as soon as I got home, I started feeling like that.
Yeah,
It's like I've got home and I'm already know I have to leave, and it kind of made me a little bit unavailable because I had this underlying sort of sadness going on. So I was like, yeah, I need to. I don't know how, but I know I need to go. And then in the end, the decision was kind of made for me when I just couldn't deal with it anymore and just had to walk away on the spot. So,
And did
but
you have a motivator in all that? Like, did you have someone who was your sounding board when you were going through that?
at that time, I was running and I was fit and I was in shape. So I'd accomplished losing a stack of weight, and I was reading some great books. I was David Goggins was in the mix. I just read a really great book called Finding Ultra by a guy named Rich Roll, who I've spoken about before as well. And he's right at that time where I was um, wanting to give it away with no clue of how. I was listening to his audio book driving in and out to work, and he was saying, yeah, he got fit but he realized that the fitness side of it wasn't enough. He had to change his life as well for his mental well-being, and the cogs just started turning for me. I was like, man, this is what I've got to do. With regardless of how scared I am of what's on the other side of this, I've just got to give it away and just have faith in what's on the other side. It's all going to be okay. And of course, you mentioned it earlier, having a great woman by your side. Just finalised that, and it made it an easy decision in the end. Which is
Yeah.
funny because I'm speaking to friends at the moment. I've got friends texting me, at the moment, just asking me the same questions about it all. Like, what were your fears that you had to face giving up all of that money and potentially that lifestyle? So, um, yeah,
Yeah, and it's
it's
tough.
different for everyone though.
People still ask me, and I remember, when I was hiring guys, you'd have guys come in for interviews and things, and they would ask you what it's like, and you just wanted to like tell them to run.
Yeah,
Well, what are you doing? You don't. If you got a girlfriend, don't worry about
yeah,
this job,
yeah,
or kiss them goodbye now, and that'll be it. You won't see him again, like.
yeah,
And it happened so many. You'd send up if you sent up 50 guys in a year, like 45 of them would come back
yeah.
with their tail between their legs because they couldn't handle it. So it's it was a tough gig up there, and one I'm glad to see the back of. Yeah, but yeah,
Yeah,
a
for
lot of
sure.
good
But
lessons. Yeah,
yeah, it's something that when I first gave it away, I was like, oh, I would never recommend it to anyone, and fuck the system and the man, and don't ever go back to that system and that regime. But the more I've healed and the more I've got over and accepted it for what it was, I'm like, it's different for everyone. I've got so many people who've got great memories and walked away happy that everything that it gave them was what it was. And so, the more I'm okay with myself, the more I'm okay with what it was, and realizing it was just me inside that I had to deal with. But yeah, like I
yeah. It's
said,
like being with a
just
dodgy partner, isn't it? Like
yeah,
you don't see it when you're in you hate it. And
yeah,
suddenly you get away, and everyone tells you how. Yeah, they're like, oh, that. Yeah, why were you with them? And you're like,
yeah,
why didn't you say this to me ages ago?
yeah, yeah,
And then you get on the other side of it, and suddenly you've got all this clarity, and you're like, oh man, I must have looked like such an idiot walking down that
yeah.
path for so long. And
But I
yeah,
was miserable, man, and I was making poor decisions, and when I was out there, man, it was really hard to even give a shit about anything. And I must have,
yeah,
you still have your own standards that you want to work towards, but it is incredible. It's incredibly hard to be motivated when not an ounce of you wants to be stuck right where you are with you. You think there's no options. I mean, I I just didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to do anything, any part of my job, any part of my role. I just didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to just go back to my room, cook my dinner, and just exist without wanting to play any part of doing anything to do with my job. And it was terrible, man. Like I didn't know who I was, and it stayed like that for much too long. And I wasn't the only person. I worked with another guy who had a young family, and he was just as miserable as I was, but he just wanted to keep that money coming in, and he had money in the bank, he had savings, and he built himself a great lifestyle, but he just couldn't say no to it. So
yeah. It takes a long time to become brave, to do
yeah,
something as well. Like even if you commit, like you get to a point where you make the decision you're going to do it, but then there's still a long path to
yeah,
actually doing it, and there's so much doubt in between that you can see why so many people just get thrown off the ride before they even get to the
yeah.
end. It's just
Well, I think
money
what
and
happened
what
to
are you going
me
to
is
do
you
this?
break.
Yeah,
You break. I broke. That was
and
it.
that's sad. Like, yeah, it should. I mean, yeah, it just shouldn't come to that. Like, there should be people around that are like always checking on you and
Yeah,
always make. And when it was a tricky time. I remember that very vividly, like, just having one man sites and stuff. We went out to grab rigs from places, and you just go to a camp, and there'd be a guy that had been there by himself for 2 weeks by himself, and you're just like, how are you doing this? And
Yeah.
when you said it in that podcast that you did talking about yourself, it was, you could just hear it. It was in your voice.
Yeah.
It was sad. It's not what anyone should have to put up with, and it's crazy that people are asking you to do that sort of thing. And we would never do it. I had a
Yeah.
really big rule that I would never let anyone do anything by themselves for safety reasons. But
Yeah.
for that reason as well, people need camaraderie, and they need an ear to lean on, and they need someone to help make a smart decision together instead of making a quick stupid decision by themselves. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Especially if you're struggling, yeah,
oh
it's
yeah.
hard. Like, there weren't many of us on the side, and even my back to backs. We'd worked together for years, but I just never really felt like they were people I could go to with that exposing how you felt inside. You just like you say, you wore your hat at work, and you covered up those feelings, and you couldn't let that show, because a lot of people would take that for a weakness, and you couldn't show weakness out there. So
No, yeah,
you kept a lot of that stuff to yourself, and you just had to deal with it on your own as well, which made it even harder.
yeah. Which and then I took that. That was a real inspiration for me to take that operations manager job at Egan's, because it was such a big pay cut to go back there, and yeah. But I just wanted to make a difference. Like, I was sick of
Yeah,
just doing like a menial, like trade assistant kind of job. I
yeah,
wanted to actually like make a difference in people's life, and I just saw that value in it from the get go, and that's what sucked me in and kept me there for 4 or 5 years. Being people's ear to listen to their story, even if it was unrelated to work, and just being able to help people. Being able to help people. Oh, suddenly, I had a big blowout and break. Can I stay back a few days? Well, sure, that helps everyone. Like,
yeah,
but people just don't want to listen, or people didn't want to listen when I was coming up through the ranks. And
yeah,
I really wanted to make that change and be something different. But those rules are just so, these big mining companies just dug in deep, and they just play the numbers, and they don't really care
yeah,
about the person that's on the other end of the line that's doing the work. But those people are real, and they need looking after, and it's so important. And it made a big difference. We had good crews, and they stayed, and they didn't want to leave, and that they were genuinely excited to go to work. And it was something that I really relished and saw it as a huge achievement, probably more than this. I gave
yeah,
people a good life when they should have really been struggling up there.
yeah.
And
You
um,
have to work hard for that stuff,
oh
and
yeah,
the role and what I was doing is, you're a manager, man. You're managing people, and sometimes you have to work really, really hard to get there. But a lot of people don't want to work hard. They just want to, yell at someone, or give them a dressing down and send them on their way. But that's not the way to get the long term goals and to build a great team. You've got to do the hard work to build those teams. And I worked really hard to do that. Not only with the people, my crew that worked under me for the company, but working with contractors and drillers like yourselves, and earthworks guys and manly men, and when we spoke about talking about doing episodes, I was kind of blown away that, you guys considered me sort of someone that you connected with on site, and sort of held, as a bit of a friend outside of work. That really blew me away, and shows that the pain and the blood and the sweat that you put into doing your job paid off. Made it easier for people to come and leave their families and do that work for you, I guess.
oh yeah, and yeah, and that was as genuine as it came. You guys and Wayne, and there's probably a dozen guys out there.
Yeah,
We all felt connected to them, and that's why it was always felt. When you were getting told off, and it wasn't even, it's just something silly or whatever it was. You're like, you can see this is an accident or whatever. Like,
yeah,
just give us some great, give us a bit of space. Like, we're suffering as well. Someone's hurt or whatever it is. We we we're not. Yeah, we're going through this. With you guys, and that's all it should have been. Like, we're all on the same team here, but so often it would just become an us versus them thing. And I know you guys are trying your hardest to quell that, and so are we. But
yeah,
yeah, like I said, these rules are just so dug in deep out there, and you can't go anywhere with them a lot of the time, and you've just got to bite your tongue, put the hat on, like you say, and
Yeah,
keep walking.
plug
Um,
away.
yeah, and be happy now that you're not there anymore. You know, and that you can, yeah,
Yeah.
that you can take a shit in the bush without anyone bloody having a go at you.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, and I mean, we still, I live up in the bush, and it's a part of me. And I'm raising my family up here, and I love it. And my girls they know how to get by out in the scrub, and they're not shy of getting dirty. And their feet are dirty every day from playing outside, and they know not to panic when they see a snake, and to tell me that if they see one, and just good life skills. And things you can only learn from being out there and exposing yourself to the outdoors and nature. I'm really grateful that we're still living up here and exposing our family to that as well.
Yeah, that's cool.
Well, anyway, have you got any more questions for me? I'll.
I'm not a big conversationalist. Like I'd rather be on your side of the table. To be honest, I love asking questions and
Yeah.
yeah, getting into that side of things. But yeah, so it is weird being this way around. Yeah.
Well, I reckon we
Yeah.
can moving along. We've touched on the book. So, Travel Infinity, you've got coming out next week.
Yeah, Tuesday. Yep.
Yep, Tuesday on the sites, Amazon, and all the sites. And you've also got your own website, so you can reach out and find any information on you at davidminutillo.com.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so yeah, all my links to like most of the places you can find stuff are up there.
Yeah,
Otherwise, yeah, on Facebook or Instagram.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm really active on both. So
yeah,
yeah, you can find my gear there. And I'm just moving over to Wattpad at the moment, just as another avenue to kind of explore because yeah, writing a full book, it takes a lot of time, and then
yeah.
editing takes a lot of time. And I kind of like the Wattpad style of yeah, just it's basically nothing more than a couple of thousand words at a time. So it's little bite-sized nuggets that are with a cliffhanger at the end, and and just that they form into like a sort of more like an ongoing series rather than like
Okay,
a regimented novel like people are used to. I mean, they're probably still in the same kind of length as that. But yeah, like there's a part comes out every couple of days or whatever it is, and yeah, you
okay.
just digest what you can. It's a really cool way of reading, and that's probably people ask about what I'm reading at the moment a lot, but
Yeah,
yeah, what I'm reading a lot is the stuff on Wattpad. Like you kind of just jump between stories, and you've got 10, 20 different things on the go all at once, and you're excited for the next part to come out.
yeah, right.
Yeah, it's kind of like yeah, so it's like
Sort of
TV used
like
to
a
be.
mini series, yeah, like a
Yeah,
feature sort of thing. Yeah, that's it. Another way that things are evolving with your craft. It keeps you fresh, I guess, keeps you interested, especially for the writers and the readers.
yeah, no, definitely worth checking out for yeah,
Okay,
whether you want to look at my stuff or not. There's plenty on there.
okay,
Though yeah, be warned. It's obviously it's more like amateur based. So
okay,
people that are just starting to get going in the world, so they'll just put stuff on there. So some things can be really unedited and raw, which can be cool, but yeah, it can be hard to read some of that stuff. So yeah, just kind of wander around and see what you find and like what you like and yeah, so, I mean, you'll never be stuck for a story on there. That's for sure.
yeah,
There's millions of things up there to have a go at.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, thanks, man. What a great conversation. Thanks for your time and coming on. It's been great to have you. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot in there. There's a lot of takeaways from this episode that I'm going to get as well. I'm going to listen back through it and write some notes down for me as well. It's been great talking to you about such a variety of things and just touching back on the old days
yeah,
through myself and things I've been through as well. It's been a journey, man. I appreciate your time.
yeah. I didn't say the c word once either.
That's good. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you took my podcasting virginity.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, there you
cool.
go. What a
Yeah,
what
on
an
to
honor
many
that
more
is.
hopefully.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. Well, I hope so, man. I just want things to take off for you. And I really feel like anyone that started reading the book and said, "Look, it's not for me," and they've closed it, that they if people are listening, man, just keep going. It's a great book, and like I said, those underlying stories in there. I would never judge a book by its cover. That old saying, I guess,
mm.
but witchcraft wouldn't be something that I would just pick up a book and start reading. But don't limit that mindset to that. That's what the book's about. Just keep going. It's a rewarding book, man. I'm really glad for you sending it through for me to check out, and yeah, I'm just can't wait for more of your stuff to come out, man.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for having me. Yeah, I really appreciate it. It's been a fun hour and a bit. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's been good talking to you again as well. I missed those days of seeing you every day, and every
yeah,
night for a beer and stuff. So yeah, and obviously have the thoughts of a lot of those other guys in mind. Think about them
yeah,
a lot. The Alec
yeah,
Basters of the world, and
yeah. We keep in touch with those guys every now and then.
yeah,
Yeah, it's good.
yeah. So that's awesome. Yeah, it's been
Yeah,
cool.
no, easy, man. Thanks a lot. And yeah, we'll keep in touch. And look, good luck with the new book coming out, Travel Infinity. I can't wait to see it. Hopefully, it gets out there and gets everyone going again. And yeah, I just can't wait to see what more comes out. I mean, obviously, you're super inspired at the moment, and I'm just so happy for you. And it's great to see these things take off and the ball's rolling, man. It's great. Like, kudos to you.
Yeah, and you too. Yeah, it's been awesome to watch. There's a couple of guys all at the same time that are doing the same thing like yourself, and then I've got a mate who's making Lego engines of
Okay.
all things, like little kits, and just
Yeah.
putting them
Right.
out there, and it's taken off, and he's loving it. He's a Lego
Yeah.
freak. He was on that
Yeah.
show. It's just cool.
Oh, yeah.
Dave
I have
Rodman.
Dave Rodman. Okay, yeah, I
He's
think no.
the two fitters from Perth. They
Okay.
came close to winning that first season and should have won
Yeah,
it. It was
yeah,
I didn't feel like they got the justified outcome there, but it's
yeah.
just been cool to go through, and same with my partner as well, just going through the same stuff with the same people. So yeah, I wish you all the best, and
Thanks, man.
hopefully we talk
Get
again
those
soon.
creative channels out there, man. Like, just set that, set whatever you want to do and put it out there, and start living and enjoying yourself and expressing yourself. It's pretty rewarding, man. I'm loving it, and it's great to see other people doing it as well. Another pretty cool episode down. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I had a really great time interviewing Dave. I didn't really know what to expect coming into this one, I'll be honest. With a book that he's written about sort of witchcraft with his first book, Dahlia, The Velvet Witch and a Dark Secret. But as you discover, there's a lot more to things than what you expect when you start reading books, which is what I love about it anyway. So, look, some great takeaways from that one. There's some really good takeaways in that episode from me as well, where Dave's experiencing similar things in new projects and working with social media to promote his work, which is something I really need to improve on as well. So definitely something I'm going to be taking away from the episode. Other things, it was just great to hear about where he gets his inspiration from, how he channels that into his writing. And you kind of are exposing yourself. And I think with anything that's art or that involves any aspect of creativity, you're kind of putting yourself out there and leaving yourself pretty open and exposed. So it's something I'm working on. It's something that's not really come naturally to me, but with experience and progress, you definitely make long ways along that road. But it seems like, Dave has always been the kind of guy to wear his heart on his sleeve, which I admire. And it was nice to have a chat with him and to learn a few things and give me some things to work on as well. So really some good topics there. As far as for him, as well as the inspirational side of things, where he is going through that process of how to work out what to put his inspiration into, how to then flip that into writing novels and stories. He also has the other side of the coin where he's an independent author and publisher, publishing his own work, which is a whole nother thing in itself, I guess, that you never know what it's going to be about until you cross that line and decide that you're going to do it. You have no idea what to expect. You might have certain ideas of what the road is going to be like, but until you take those steps and start doing it and pushing yourself to be out there, it's a whole nother learning curve. So super impressed the fact that he's gone and done it himself, and you learn along the way. You have no idea what to expect, but the more you push forward and the more work and the more you get into it, it's all part of that creative process, and backing yourself as well to be out there and doing what you love, which is pretty epic, I think. So we're going to leave it there, wrap up on that one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget, if you want to follow any more of Dave's work, he is on the socials, Instagram and Facebook, David Minutillo. And then linked for any of his work, if you want to purchase the books, visit davidminutillo.com. It's DavidMinutillo.com. check him out, get into the books, get around it. I'm really enjoying it at the moment. I'm just getting in the process of finishing off Dahlia, and I'll be honest, I'm loving it. I highly regard it, and I can't wait until his next book, Travel Infinity, comes out next week. I'm going to be getting a copy of that too and checking it out. So please do yourself a favour and add it to your book list. I've got a few books to get through as well, but Dahlia is my current read, and then I'll be having a few more to go through as well as Travel Infinity. So please get around that one. Otherwise, it's been great having you guys. Don't forget to support this show on the Instagram, The Inner Expeditions podcast on Instagram, and you can also support the show on patreon.com/Inner Expeditions if you want to make a small donation to the show if you love what you hear. That'd be great. Otherwise, that's it from me. Thanks heaps everyone again for listening in. It's been great to have you all again. I love doing what I do, and I'm so grateful that I can come on here and talk to amazing people, and also talk about off-topic stuff when I bump into people out and about, which is really nice. It's just great conversation starters. I love conversation and the importance of conversation with people. So if there's something going down, just throw it out there. Send me a question on Instagram, tag the show. Anything that you're doing that you're getting creative with, post it on there, tag us, let us know. If you got any questions, the same thing, get on the gram and flick me a question by direct message or tag us in something that you love doing, and let me know what you are up to and anything more you want to know about me, as we did sort of touch on that a little bit in the show there where Dave kind of spun it around and quizzed me a bit and kind of put me on the spot, which I quite enjoyed actually. It's sort of been a while since I've spoken about some similar things to my episode in the last season, but it was nice to sort of retouch up on then bring some things to the surface I probably need to finish off to end that sort of chapter for me. But look, otherwise, again, thanks again, guys, for tuning in. It's been great having you. If it's your first time tuning into the show, it's great to have you. I really hope you liked what you heard. And let me know. I love feedback. What do you like? What don't you like? Get in touch. Let me know. It'd be great to hear. And I'm always going to be working on making the show better and improving myself as well. So please let me know. Otherwise, it's time to check out. It's been great having you on board. Please, can't wait to see you next time. Tune in. Let's have another chat. Until then, I'll see you next time. Bye.